A show created by the fans, for the fans. We are your home for Ohio State football coverage all year long. The Scarlet and Gray Podcast, a Network 216 production. Live weekdays on the Network 216 YouTube channel. Send us all your questions and comments on Twitter at @VSG_podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Dalton, and Nick Leisure.
Hello, Buckeye Nation. Welcome to today's episode of the Scarlet and Gray Podcast, your Ohio State versus Texas Cotton Bowl game day preview. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Nick Leisure, Jordan Dalton. Gentlemen, how's your day going so far?
Not too bad. Ready to talk some football, talk about a possible national championship berth for Ohio State. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, dude, great span of athletics coming up. Obviously, you got the college football playoff, and the NFL playoffs are looming as well. So a lot of exciting stuff going on in the sports world. But it also means that the football season's almost over.
No.
Yeah. It's always bittersweet when you get to this time of year. But the good news is with the expanded playoff, the season lasts a little bit longer now. So there's plenty to talk about. Of course, before we do, if you guys would just take a quick second, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you are brand new to the channel as well. The show will be available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you are unable to watch on YouTube. And of course, as a reminder, the Scarlet and Gray Podcast is brought to you by Wedgewood Estates, 600 South Trimble Rd, Mansfield, locally family owned and operated for 27 years. Wedgewood Estates, the area's premier senior residential community. Find out more at wedgwoodseniorliving.com. That's wedgwoodseniorliving.com. The link will be in the description as well for you to check them out. All right, guys, Cotton Bowl tomorrow night, Ohio State, Texas. Going to be a fantastic game, of course. The first thing I want to bring up, though, the weather in Dallas. There's been a lot of reports out there that people are not able to fly into Dallas currently right now. The Cotton Bowl has said the game is still on as scheduled. But how much of a factor do you think this will be in determining how many fans we see at this game tomorrow? Because there's a lot of people I've seen Buckeye fans talk about, like, is this even going to be a packed stadium tomorrow? What are your guys' thoughts?
Man, who cares? Who cares if there's fans in the stands? I don't care personally, dude. I mean, there could be 100,000 fans. There could be 2,000 fans. You still got to go out and play the game and win the game. So it's a neutral site, technically. I mean, obviously it's in Texas, so there's going to be more Longhorn fans there in theory. But, I mean, I don't think that really plays a huge factor into the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the crowd will play a factor either. I think Ohio State travels well, so I think there will be a lot of Ohio State fans down in Dallas for the game. That being said, snow in Texas, maybe the Texas people don't want to travel on snow. It just means more Ohio people will be making that trip into the stadium, and maybe it'll give us a little bit of an advantage. Realistically, you're probably looking at a 60-40 split, 60% Texas fans, 40% Ohio State fans, just because of the location of the game. So who knows? I think the weather might actually be in our favor a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to affect the game. It's being played in a dome, but just in terms of like how many people make it to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. Guys, we do actually have breaking news. Ohio State, Texas Tech, and Miami are the three teams to watch for Georgia quarterback Carson Beck, according to On3 Sports. So for those just joining us, Carson Beck has decided to forego the NFL draft after initially deciding to declare and has determined he will be playing college football next year. Real quick, guys, because we did kind of talk about this on Tuesday night's show when we were asked if any transfer would come to Ohio State. What are your thoughts? Would you take Carson Beck at Ohio State, yes or no?
Who was the third team you listed? Texas Tech and who else?
Texas Tech and Miami. Now, Miami to me is the most likely. Real quick, here's why. His girlfriend goes there. Miami's got bags galore as far as cash. And Carson Beck is looking at anywhere from $6 to $8 million in NIL.
Yeah, he ain't getting that. He ain't getting that at Ohio State, dude.
$6 to $8 million.
That's what Georgia insiders are reporting.
He's not even worth that.
He just tore his UCL. He's going to have Tommy John. Is he going to?
They said he'll be able to throw in March.
Okay. All right.
If I'm the Buckeyes, I'm not taking a chance. Screw
I'm
that.
I'm out on that. I think I like the idea. If he's calling for $6 to $8 million, though, not my money, but in terms of the team that we just paid to put on the field this year, $20 million. You're taking almost half of that to pay a quarterback that probably he's solid, but he would do well in this offense. It's just like coming off that surgery and everything. I don't know.
It's too high of a price tag for me.
Yeah,
but like you said, it's not my money, but also it's like that's almost half of what we paid for the entire roster this season. So
let's put
for
those
1 year of Carson Beck. I feel like there's a lot better ways to use $6 to $8 million in the program.
I think you get 1 year Carson Beck. You could say goodbye to Julian Sayin and probably Lincoln Keenholz. So I don't know. It's an interesting discussion. I personally don't think they're going to bring anybody in. That's going to be a starter. But we'll see. I think they're just going to run with the young guns next year.
Yeah. I mean, I would take Carson Beck in a heartbeat personally. I mean, if it was actually realistic as far as money, the money I just feel like is going to be too big of a deal. And if he's not, I mean, if you can't get him for a decent price, I'm not going to break the bank for him by any means. This is the only thing I'll say about Carson Beck. Before this season, he was projected by many to be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft until he had the season that he did. I will say with these weapons at Ohio State and the coaching he would get at Ohio State, I do believe if you put him in this offense with these weapons, he would be in the first round conversation again next year. So if he wanted to come here, I'm not saying no. If that means I lose Julian Sayin, then that's what that means. If that means I lose Lincoln Keenholz, that's what it means. It's the unfortunate reality that we live in, and I think Ryan Day would take him if Carson Beck wanted to be here. But, all right, anyways, had to at least talk about that because that's pretty huge news to break while we're recording here. All right, guys, the game. Texas is coming off an overtime win against Arizona State. When you look at this Texas team, what is it about this team that you think would give Ohio State some trouble? Now, again, Ohio State is the favorite in this game. A lot of people are picking the Buckeyes and don't really think Texas stands much of a chance, but Texas is still a very good football team. When you see these guys play, what really stands out to you?
I think their defense is pretty elite, honestly. I mean, 44 sacks is the team, so they get after the quarterback pretty well. They got, let me see, 4 guys with 5 sacks or more on the season. So, I mean, I think the defense just really gets after you. They're going to run a lot of zone coverage. They're going to try to make Will Howard kind of second guess what he's seeing. I don't think they're going to go a lot of man in this game. They're going to rely on their pass rush to get after Will Howard and kind of break up the timing. Because as you guys know, this offense that Ohio State runs, it's a lot of timing-based routes, a lot of, just kind of hit stuff when it's open. So I think Will Howard's going to have to be he's going to have to be really patient in this game. I don't think they're going to allow a lot of deep shots to Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate in this one. I think, that defense is just going to make them really work overall.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the matchup, I think, to watch. If Ohio State's offense is played like they have the last 2 games, I don't think we have much to worry about. But like you said, this is probably the best defense we've faced. I would say they're up there with Oregon's defense in terms of talent, and Texas has put it on the field a lot this year defensively. But man, just the way we've been playing offensively, I don't see it posing that much of a threat. And then offensively, Texas, they have Quinn Ewers, former Ohio State quarterback, for about 3 months. But he's been really solid this year. Hasn't lit the world on fire. Started the year really strong, and then as the season went on, he got hurt, and there's been a lot of almost like quarterback controversy with him and Arch Manning. But they have two really serviceable quarterbacks. So if Quinn Ewers has to leave the game for whatever reason, you're almost bringing in a more dynamic quarterback with Arch Manning, and I'm sure we're going to see him on the field at some point in some sort of package. So that would definitely be something to watch. And then they have a really good group of receivers. Isaiah Bond and Golden have been really solid for them through the air. And then they kind of have a running back by committee in the backfield, and they have 3 guys that they use a lot. So just a solid team overall, and there's a reason that they're in this position as a top 4 team currently in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of hit it. The defense, we know this Texas defense is very good. That's probably, I would say, the strong point to this team is that this defense is going to be. It is. I would say it's probably one of the best in the country, outside of course, Ohio State. When you look at Texas as well, the thing that they do very well is they don't get beat a lot deep. Now, again, they did against Arizona State. I would say that was more of a little bit of a fluke play. They don't give up a lot of big plays. They have a very good defensive front. They are good in the secondary. DeAndre Burton is one of the best in college football in the secondary. I think he's a fantastic player. And I might have been pronouncing his Barron. My bad. Yep. I knew I was pronouncing his name wrong, but he's probably going to be matched up a lot against Jeremiah Smith. He does have 5 interceptions this year. Andrew Makuba, he has turned out to be one of the better safeties in college football. Like, their secondary is very good. Colin Simmons on that defensive line has been fantastic as a freshman with 9 sacks. Won Freshman of the Year award. Don't even get me started on that whole thing. But then when you look at Texas's offense, everyone points to that. They do score points, but with Texas, they rank 51st in the country in completion rate when it comes to just 15 passes, 15 plus yards down the field. So I think that's pretty interesting. They have only scored a touchdown on 40% of the time in their first 2 drives of every game this year. So they normally average about 45 yards per drive, but that either is going to end up in a touchdown or a field goal. They are not very consistent on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that goes a little bit to Quinn Ewers. And tell you what, Quinn Ewers this year, he was projected by some to be a first-round pick. Same with Carson Beck, who we talked about earlier. But you look at Quinn, he's not played that well. He can't really push the ball down the field. And the one thing, if you watch Quinn, if you take him off his first read, he struggles immediately. He's flustered. He has trouble once he's forced off his first read. This Buckeye defense can get him to that second and third option. He's gonna panic a little bit. So I look at Jim Knowles to be aggressive in this game. And I also think, guys, with Texas, the other thing that Texas insiders were saying, after that game against Arizona State, their defense was beat up and just exhausted. I mean, they played 97 plays, that defense, against Arizona State. So definitely something to watch there, especially on the fatigue side of things. No injuries. Cameron Williams is going to be playing for Texas. I know he had been battling an injury. I think he still is, but he is going to play. Projected by some to be a late first, early day 2 pick. Now on the Buckeye side of things, guys, what do you want to see from the Buckeyes in this game in order to take Texas out of what they want to do on defense?
Go ahead, JD. Or do you need a minute?
No, you're just saying what do we want to see offensively?
Yeah, what do we want to see offensively? Keep in mind, Texas is really good at getting after the quarterback. Like, that is one of their calling cards on defense.
I think you do exactly what you've been doing the last 2 games. You get the ball to your playmakers out in space, which is what we've been calling for all year. Getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith, Mecca Ibuka out in space. Make it hard for that pass rush to get home, and then let your playmakers make plays. And we've just seen the absolute superstar that Jeremiah Smith is when he gets the ball and has space to make people miss and break tackles and do the things that made him the number 1 recruit in the country coming in college this past year. So I think that first and foremost, get him the ball. And then secondly, just keep Will Howard upright. I think this offensive line has done a really good job with the adjustments that they've had to make with the injuries and Donovan Jackson moving to left tackle. They're kind of alternating right guard right now. And they didn't give up a single sack, I don't believe, against Oregon. And that was a problem the first time they played Oregon. So I think that if they can keep Will Howard upright for long enough to let us stretch the field vertically, I think that would be huge. And then getting that run game going. If Travion Henderson's been playing like he has been, and you can get Quinn on the ball 13, 15 to 15 times, I think that's a really big recipe for success of wearing this Texas front down. So not anything abnormal, but this Texas team is going to be tough, and I think there's a lot of people that are kind of underestimating how good they are, just because of they kind of almost blew that game against Arizona State there at the end with that big lead. So I think for a while this year, I thought Texas was the best team in football. They had some really close games. They do seem to struggle to score at times, and they like to make games close in the bad way. They give up, turnovers, and they're really penalized team. Probably one of the most penalized teams on offense this year in the country. So it is going to be an interesting dynamic, and just kind of going off topic a little bit, but I think that's what Ohio State's offense needs to do against their defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it, dude. Keeping Will Howard upright, limiting the turnovers again, obviously, is just kind of like the basics. Don't let your quarterback get hit. Don't turn the ball over, and get the ball to your playmakers. I think, I don't know, I'd like to see Will Howard maybe get involved in the running game a little bit in this game. You really haven't seen it in these first two playoff games, so just throw some little wrinkles here and there to make Texas be aware, like, hey, our quarterback can still move, and we're going to get him involved in the running game. Obviously not to the level of like a Riley Leonard or something like that where they run him a lot, but just a couple read options here and there, let him pull the ball, maybe run a QB zone just to kind of keep the defense honest. I really want to see, because the stars, Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Quinn. I'm looking for maybe getting, I know TJ is going to hate me for saying this, get G. Scott, Will Kazmarek involved a little bit in this game, dude. I really think that they're kind of like some hidden gems on our team that, they're still really reliable and really serviceable in the passing game. So I really, we saw the first play of the game against Oregon. It was a G. Scott leak out. Don't be shocked if we try to get those guys in the middle of the field and try to get them the ball early on to kind of soften up those zones a little bit so we can take shots on the outside.
Yeah, and I would say, funny enough, I do agree. I wouldn't mind getting G. Scott more involved in this game because you do need other guys outside of your stars, I feel like, to make plays when you get this far into the playoffs, because the game plan is going to be contain Ohio State's outside perimeter. And now that can be your game plan. Good luck. I mean, now if there's a secondary that might be able to contain it, I'm not saying no one's ever going to shut down this wide receiver core, but if you're going to contain it, Texas would be right on that list. I mean, there's a reason why Barron was the Thorpe Award winner this year. I mean, he's a very good player. Like, he's got to go up against the best receiver he's going to see all year, though, in Jeremiah Smith, and probably arguably another top 10 guy in Emeka Egbuka. I think in this game, I want to see Cardinal Tate a little bit more involved because I think Texas is going to double Jeremiah. I really do. That's going to leave more opportunity for Emeka and Cardinal Tate. The reason they're going to do it, I don't think they want Jeremiah Smith to beat him in this game because you're seeing teams are playing him straight up. And again, they pretty much have to, but I think they want someone other than Jeremiah Smith to beat him in this game. They don't want a situation like Oregon where they're getting torched nonstop by a true freshman. That's just what I think. And then when I'm looking at the offense, guys, I need also quick game is going to be really important. When you look at the Texas defensive line, again, we talk about Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill Jr., Trey Moore, Barron Sorrell. Yeah. Vernon Broughton. These guys have depth on the defensive line. They get after the quarterback, and that's the thing I'm watching most in this game, keeping Will Howard upright, keeping Will Howard getting the ball out quickly because, again, Donovan Jackson's been fantastic. He's still only been playing left tackle for 5 or 6 games. Like, I mean, this is quite a challenge that's coming up. Same with Tegra Shabola, same with Luke Montgomery. This is going to be that's a battle I'm really watching is the trenches. But I'll just say, let Travion Henderson cook. That man has been on a mission in the college football playoff. Like I said it the other night, comparing this to an Ezekiel Elliott type of run we're seeing out of him. It's just been incredible. So I want to continue to see that. All right, guys. Well, who is someone – well, we'll wrap it up here pretty shortly. But who is someone on the defensive side of the ball that you think really needs to have a big game against this Texas offense?
I want a Denzel Burke interception in this game.
Ooh,
I think he hasn't been thrown to a lot in this season, but I feel like when he has, it's kind of been dicey at times. So, I mean, I don't care if it's Denzel Burke, Igbinosun, Matthews. We need to pick off Quinn Ewers in this game at least once. So I don't care. Just somebody from the secondary needs to make a play in the passing game with an interception.
I would love another performance like Jack Sawyer's been having the past couple of weeks. I think that would just be enough to get it done. If him and JT can combine and have another 4-sack game, 5-sack game, I don't think there's any reason we should lose. And Cody Simon's going to clean anything up. So I think the defense has been playing lights out, and I think it's just going to continue this week.
For me, we haven't seen him force many turnovers this year. Now, to be fair, I don't know how many people have thrown at him a lot, but there was a video I saw on Twitter the last time Texas played Alabama last year. They tested Caleb Downs, and they got to him a little bit. I want to see Caleb Downs make an impact play in this game, interception, fumble, whatever it is. When you look at Quinn Ewers, the last 4 games, he has thrown at least 1 interception. That includes 2 against Georgia. He threw 1 against Arizona State. And then he's been sacked multiple times the last 3 games. 6 against Georgia, 2 against Clemson, 3 against Arizona State. The Texas offensive line is beat up a little bit. Kelvin Banks Jr., he's not 100%. Cameron Williams is not 100% either. So I want to see Caleb Downs really make a play in this game. But also just the defensive line. You guys kind of hit on it. JD, you did with Jack Sawyer. I want to see him and JT to out, just wreak havoc. Texas, one of the things they do well, and the reason that they are as good as they are is they do get the ball out pretty quickly. Sark likes to run a lot of short passes, and there'll be times where they run a lot of long developing plays. I think that suits Ohio State for a defense that really is able to get after the quarterback lately. And the one thing Texas struggles with when they are in 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, and their offensive linemen have to block for a decent amount of time, that's where they struggle because these linemen are so used to the quick game. And that's why you see a lot of these Texas offensive linemen grading out the way they do and projected as these top draft picks because a lot of times they're not having to go straight up for 3 to 4 seconds every single play because Quinn Ewers is getting the ball out within a second. So if you can force them to drop back a little bit more in this game, you'll be fine. Like Texas, Quinn Ewers will not be able to do that against you consistently because he's proven this year when it matters that he's not able to do it. Okay. That brings it to the spread game picks. Ohio State, as of right now, is a 6-point favorite in Dallas. So that's the other thing to hit at. This is as close to a home game for Texas as it possibly can be. Ohio State does travel well. Ohio State is a 6-point favorite in this game. Do you guys think the Buckeyes cover the spread? And then what is your game prediction for the Cotton Bowl?
Buckeyes cover easily. They're going to win the Cotton Bowl and punch their ticket to the national title 38-21.
Dang. I was going to say almost exactly the same score. 38-21, Ohio State. Yeah, I think this offense is just too high powered. They're in a rhythm right now, and they're going to put points up, and they're going to get a big lead. And I don't think Texas will be able to hang. I think it'll be a pretty easy cruise to the national championship. I think that there's going to be a tough first quarter. Ohio State's going to hang, 20, 21 points, and Texas might answer, but then the game's going to play out, and Ohio State's going to handle business. It's going to be a very similar game to the Oregon game.
Like it. I like it. I'm kind of right there with you guys. Ohio State does cover in this game. It's just funny because I know a lot of people are even thinking Texas was the favorite going into the college football playoff with how well they've been playing this year. And the tables have completely turned. Ohio State's the hottest team right now in the playoff. They're hot at the right time, and I think that continues here on Friday night. I just think it's too much. The offense is too much. I think Chip Kelly is going to have this figured out. He's going to have a great game plan. They're going to take some shots down the field a little bit, which I really want to see. But then I don't think Quinn Ewers can do enough. I really don't. I think I've said it. I think Texas is better with Arch Mann at quarterback. I feel like he brings something to their run game, and he just adds another dimension to that offense that they really need. And Quinn Ewers just isn't a guy that at this point that you can win a national championship with and beat arguably the top team in the country. So I got Ohio State in this game. I got the Buckeyes at 34, and I got Texas 23. So, yeah, should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
No, sir.
Go Buckeyes.
Right. Go Bucks, baby. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. The show is available YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you don't miss any of it. And if you do listen on audio, I always like to remind people, drop us a quick 5-star review. Really helps Apple and Spotify know what audience they need to really push out the show more to. Because, again, we're trying to increase the audio listeners to the show. So if you do listen on audio every week, go ahead and drop us a 5-star review. I know a decent amount of people do. So if you would go ahead and do that, we really would appreciate it. The Scarlet and Gray podcast is proud to be brought to you by Wedgewood Estates, 600 South Trimble Road in Mansfield. Family, locally owned and operated for 27 years. Wedgewood Estates, the area's premier senior residential community. Find out more at wedgewoodseniorliving.com. That's wedgewoodseniorliving.com. Link will be in the description for you to check them out. Guys, we will talk to you all again soon. As always, go Buckeyes.
Go Buckeyes.